Welcome. Hello, everybody. My name is Lindsay Whitmore, and I'll be your instructor this winter session for Introduction to Gender, Race, and Sexuality in the hybrid format. I wanted to put together this video to sort of first give you all an opportunity to put a face to my name, and to also kind of go through some of the major expectations and things that you sort of need to know in order to get us started, since we won't actually be in the classroom together until January. So I first want to just say I'm glad you found us, and I'm really looking forward to meeting all of you. In terms of how this little video will go, I'm going to talk quickly about e-college, which is the format that we'll be using to access the online component of the course. And then I'm just going to take us through the syllabus pretty quickly. It's also on e-college so that you can certainly look through it more thoroughly. But I want to hit on some of the major kind of expectations and components of the course. So first things first, accessing our course shell on eCollege can happen by going to onlinelearning.rutgers.edu. You'll find the main page there. There's a series of drop-down menus across the top. You're going to want to go to Class Login, scroll down to Pearson Learning Studio, and in parentheses it says eCollege. Click on that. Click on the link that says log in with your Rutgers Net ID, and it'll bring you to the central authentication screen that we are so familiar with. Click log in there and find the section that says Winter 2016 e-Companion. Click on that, and then a link to our course should come up, 988-101-02, Intro to Gender, Race, and Sexuality. So because our course is hybrid, we will have our first couple of sessions through the eCollege platform. The first thing to sort of know about how our course is going to work is that it's not synchronous at all. So we don't ever have to be logged on at the same time to do the online components of the course. There'll just be a series of deadlines for posting and reading that are all pretty clearly laid out in the syllabus. So getting familiar with the course shell is sort of the first step to understanding how this is all going to work, especially if you've never had a hybrid or an online course before. So once you're in our course shell, you'll see the left side of the page has a panel with a series of headings: Course Home, Introduction, Week 1, Week 2, Week 3. And this is where the majority of our resources and materials that you're going to need for this online portion of the course, that's where this will be located. So the most important link that we want to check out right now is the syllabus tab, and that's under Course Home. So if you click on syllabus, that'll bring up the syllabus, and I'm just going to kind of talk us through some of the major components of the class and its expectations. So as I said, we're a hybrid format for this winter session. That means that our first 4 sessions will be online. So 12:23 is our very first session. We have no class on Thursday, 12:24, Friday, 12:25. Then we meet back online for 3 sessions, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, the 28th through the 30th. Then we have another break from the 31st through Sunday, January 3rd. And we pick back up on a regular schedule Monday, January 4th. Our first class time together in class session will be on Tuesday, February 5th. And that's all outlined pretty clearly on the syllabus. There's even a chart that I made. So if you get confused, you just check what's the date, where are we supposed to be on that day. A little bit about the way that the course is organized. So the course is organized to introduce you to the sort of interdisciplinary field of women's and gender studies. Our 3 main kind of categories of analysis are going to be gender, race, and sexuality. That's pretty clear through the sort of introductory title of the class, and I think you probably got that sense by the time you made it to this point. What you may not know is that we're going to examine those 3 categories, identities, through the way that those things intersect with other experiences like class, disability, ethnicity, age, citizenship, and other kinds of social difference. The class is largely going to be organized around popular culture and social media, news and current events, and more contemporary discourses on the body, violence, community building, and social change. My teaching philosophy centers pretty heavily on kind of putting our own lived experiences into conversation with these different kinds of difference and identity. So our tools of inquiry will be kind of critical reflections of our own experiences, as well as more theoretical engagements with the topics of knowledge, power, oppression, and difference. And as you can see on the syllabus, there's a set of core course questions that's going to sort of guide us through the way that we ask these questions about gender, race, and sexuality. The course also satisfies the 21st Century Challenge SAS learning goal, and there's some information on the syllabus about what that means specifically. In terms of the required readings for the course, you don't actually need to purchase anything in addition to what's provided on the eCollege course shell. All of the readings, all the information, the social media links, multimedia, video, it'll all be right there on the eCollege platform. They're located on the individual pages for each class session, which are located on the sidebar of the eCollege course shell. So, for example, if you click on week 1, you'll see a drop-down menu of a series of days: Monday, December 28th, Tuesday the 29th, Wednesday the 30th. If you click on one of those particular days, that'll bring you to the sort of key area that you need to visit in order to get all the materials for that class. Each online session has one page for this, all these materials. Actually, each class session will, although you'll see that for the classes that were in physically in the class together, there will be some sort of missing parts to what's going on. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. So all of your required readings will be right there on eCollege as a sort of link under the heading Today's Materials. In addition to the text that you'll be reading, articles, there'll also be an overview that I post for each online session. The overviews are located on that same individual page, just a little bit below the links to all of the actual course texts. So if you go to Monday, December 28th, you'll see today's materials. There's 4 things listed. You can access them by clicking the link and downloading them. Then there's a little section for the assignment that's due for that day. And then following that, an overview. And I provide a little bit of info on kind of what an overview is on the syllabus. You can also take a look at that. But just know that these are also required materials in addition to any of the texts that I've assigned for the particular day. The overviews kind of give you a sense of like what's going on in the readings, what are the major points we need to be paying attention to, what questions should we be keeping in our mind as we kind of go through the readings. And the overviews are also a way to integrate some other kinds of contextual materials. So, relevant hashtags on Twitter that are kind of in conversation with the readings for that week. Short videos, Tumblrs, all that sort of stuff. So those are the 2 kind of key components of the required texts. Next on the syllabus, there's a sort of outline of the class structure, which I talked a little bit about already. Please feel free to be in touch if you have any specific questions about kind of how the hybrid process works. In terms of online sessions, you, as I said, do not need to be logged into the course shell at any time. There's not going to be a live or sort of simultaneous portion of the class. For each online session, you're responsible for reading and completing all the assignments on eCollege by 10 p.m. Of the day of that particular class session. And that means reading and engaging with all the multimedia materials that are listed, and then visiting the assignment section at the end of each online session's individual page and completing any listed assignments. Typically for online sessions, assignments will look like visiting the discussion forum and participating in that way. The discussion forum for each week is located as a link at the end of the week's individual pages. And if you're looking at eCollege right now, this should make more sense than perhaps it does at the current moment. So for example, for week 1, there's 3 days listed, and there's a link that says discussion prompts week 1. And you click on that, you'll find links for each of the days and the particular discussion prompts that associate with that day. There will also occasionally be other sort of web-based assignments for online sessions, but you can just check the assignment section for each online class to make sure that that session has either a discussion forum post or a different assignment. In addition to the work on eCollege, you're also required to make at least 2 posts to our shared Tumblr, and I'll talk a little bit more about what that means in a minute. Definitely take a look at the expectations for online engagement in the syllabus. This is where I sort of outline what it means to be a fully engaged participant in our online sessions. Making the transition from online to in-class can sometimes be a little difficult. I've actually found that hybrid sessions, hybrid formats of this intro class are really great because we already have sort of established a kind of rapport through our online work that then translates really well when we meet together in the classroom. So I'm looking forward to some of that unfolding with all of you. Online contexts count for 40% of your grade, and that comes from an assessment of your attendance and participation during these sessions. For in-class sessions, which are Tuesdays and Thursdays after the 5th of January, you don't need to log into eCollege to make any posts or do anything like that. You're mainly responsible for coming to class, having read the materials that are listed on eCollege. In terms of grading requirements for the class, so you're going to be graded on sort of 3 components. Attendance and participation makes up 40% of your grade, and that's attendance and participation both online and in the classroom. Another 40% of your grade is the online portfolio, which is made up of discussion forum responses, the comments that you make on other students' responses, any other online assignments, and the Tumblr part of the course. And 20% will be your final project, which I'll talk about in a minute here, and also definitely more when we're in the class together. So the online portfolio is a way that you can sort of develop writing and reading strategies and also kind of form different ways of connecting with each other's ideas. Typically, your discussion responses will be graded out of a total of 6 possible points. That means 4 points for the sort of initial response that you post to the prompt that I provide, and another 2 possible points for commenting on other students' posts. So there's sort of a 2-pronged part to discussion forum participation. And that looks like, as I just said, 1 initial post of your own responding to the prompt that I post, 2 comments on other students' posts. There's also a rubric on the syllabus for how I grade those. There's some also info on attendance policy. So coming to class more than 20 minutes late during our in-class session is considered an absence. Not posting your response and comments to the discussion forum by the deadline, which is typically 10 p.m. for online sessions, is considered an absence. I also know that our lives are complex and that we all have a lot going on, so you'll also be allowed 1 unexcused absence over the course of the semester. Like I said, an absence means either not coming to an in-class session or not responding to the prompt or other online assignments by that deadline. There's a piece on here about sort of active participation and the kinds of participation that I'm expecting from you. Please definitely review that. It's relevant to how you'll be graded, but it's also relevant to how I want us to sort of be able to form a community together. I take, the sort of exchanges that happen online and in the classroom really seriously, and I'd like us to sort of be able to formulate a kind of participation that makes sense for everybody, but that also encourages kind of shared learning experiences. So part of that participation piece is an unannounced reading quiz. So that's going to happen 3 times throughout the winter session. These are just a way to sort of make sure that you're actually doing the reading. There'll be 1 or 2 questions. If you've done the reading, you'll totally pass the short little quiz. But it's just a sort of check-in way for me to make sure that everyone's actually doing the readings each time. The online portfolio piece I've talked quite a bit about, so I won't go into that much more, just to say that the syllabus also outlines the specific guidelines that your discussion forum posts should follow. 300 to 700 words is a good approach in terms of being able to, craft something that's substantive, but also not a 6-page kind of essay. You must have at least 250 words in your post in order to receive credit. Typically, I would say the best posts on discussion forums, tend to be more than 250 words. You'll see that the prompts that I'm posting generally include lots of different questions and sort of ways into answering or responding to the key themes of the reading. And you don't need to respond to every single part of these questions, but, in order to have a really sort of critical approach that also shows that you are thinking and acting on the readings, there needs to be some length to that. So then the comments on other students' posts do not have a length requirement, but 1 or 2 sentences is typically not sufficient. I want to really see you kind of thoughtfully responding to and exchanging with the stuff that other people are posting. So the Tumblr portion of our course is something that I like to do in order to create a sort of lower stakes way of pulling in a lot of the things that we come across in our normal daily lives on the internet into this class experience. As you'll see, a lot of what I'm assigning is kind of contemporary current events and issues around issues of gender, race, and sexuality. This stuff is everywhere. It's in the videos that we watch. It's in the music that we listen to. It's in the TV shows that we're watching. And so the Tumblr is a way to sort of pull in these external things that we're engaging with into our conversations in the classroom. So you're responsible for making 2 posts to the shared Tumblr each week. These can be links to articles, texts of like a piece of writing, an image or a photograph. I'm also going to give you all a list of some kind of feminist blogs, websites, and sort of social media, Twitter feeds, Facebook groups that you can look at for inspiration to begin finding stuff to contribute to our shared Tumblr. But just sort of know that this is a part of the class and that you're required to make 2 posts a week. Of course, if you want to post more, sometimes people get really into our Tumblr and are posting, several posts a week. It's not meant to be a sort of stressful part of the class, and so I invite you to definitely participate more if you'd like. On the syllabus, there's a link to our course's Tumblr. It's grc-winter2016.tumblr.com. The Tumblr is password protected, And so just be sure that you enter the site by entering the password that I've provided on the syllabus. There are a couple of different ways that you can post to the Tumblr. If you are familiar with Tumblr or are a registered Tumblr user, please email me the email address that you use to access Tumblr, and I can add you to the group as a user. If you'd rather not register that way, you can also email content directly to our Tumblr based on a sort of randomly generated email address that I provided for you on the syllabus as well. Typically, when I do this part in a semester-long class, everyone's registered and added to our Tumblr as an individual user, but because we only have 3 short weeks together, a lot of times just keeping the email submission process for the Tumblr is easier. There's also a link in the syllabus to how to submit information, links, photos to the Tumblr through email. And just as you sort of keep that in mind, just make sure that when you're emailing stuff to our Tumblr, you include your name in the subject line of the email. That's so that I can kind of distinguish who you are when you're submitting. And if you have any questions about this, feel free. There'll be a little leeway if you're not able to get Tumblr up and running in the first week of class. That's okay. We can also spend some time during the first class that we have together on the 5th, working out any kinks in the Tumblr part of the class. And I won't penalize you for not posting that first 2 weeks. You'll just make up those posts in the second week of class. The third component of your project, of your grade, is the final project. That's something that's going to allow you to kind of engage the experiences that you had over the winter session with the themes and issues that we've explored together. And typically, I give students the option of designing their own final project, which has generated some really cool things over the years. If you're not interested in doing your own sort of self-designed final project, there's also a paper option. But just as a heads up, some things that you can sort of think about in terms of what you might want to do for a final project. People have made videos, people have made Tumblr projects, people have composed manifestos, done songs. There's a lot of different sort of creative ways to take up some of the themes of this class for your final project. And we'll totally talk more about that as we get together. So we're going to be dealing with some sort of intense stuff in this class. Next on the syllabus is just a little piece about the class environment that I'm hoping that we can kind of work together to build. This is a course that takes seriously the kind of political commitments, I guess, of feminism, which ask us to really, work from a space of mutual respect and understanding, to challenge and provoke each other, but in sort of thoughtful and non-violent ways. So we're all expected to contribute to a kind of open and respectful environment here where everyone can participate fully, regardless of differences of opinion or experience. We're without a doubt going to run into differences of opinion and experience, and the best way to kind of work through that is acknowledging it and using it as a sort of springboard for new learning opportunities. In order to maintain this kind of space, I'm asking you not to use cell phones in the class. I understand that a lot of you use laptops and tablets for reading and taking notes, so it's okay to use that stuff when we're in the classroom together, but also just know that it's really clear to me when you're not using your tablet or laptop for class-related assignments or events. And so I'm not going to take time to sort of pull you aside and pull your attention back, but just know that the participation grade will sort of reflect that kind of attentiveness or not attentiveness. Because we're in a hybrid format, it's also really important that you stay on top of emails from me, course announcements. I'm going to, there's a chance that I may alter some readings or change parts of assignments, so please just stay on top of your email throughout the course, and that way you'll have all the information. There's also a piece on academic integrity and plagiarism. That's incredibly important to pay attention to. Please read that thoroughly, make sure that you're familiar with it, and a disability support services link is also on the syllabus. If you have any accommodation requirements or needs, definitely talk to me right at the beginning of the course so that we can work together to figure out some of the best ways to deal with that. So the rest of the class schedule follows on the syllabus. You'll see that we have sort of 3 main units. The first is feminist orientations, the second is knowledge, power, and the body, and the third is war, capital, and militarisms. So all of our work is going to sort of fit under these 3 themes. We're going to begin with some really basic orientations to what feminism and feminist studies is, including the ways that race, gender, and sexuality function within feminism. The next unit starts on January 4th, and that's going to be the knowledge, power, and the body unit, which it's going to be organized around sort of rethinking a lot of the binary assumptions that organize our life. Nature and culture, black and white, male, female. What does it mean for us to sort of undo those binaries and look to the sort of gray areas of life in between? The last unit is a little bit more structural, so thinking about some of the ways that practices of war, practices of capitalism, practices of gender, labor, migration, how those things are shaped by and also shape experiences of gender, race, and sexuality. So that's a pretty quick overview of the course. For this session, this first online session, the 23rd, you'll be responsible for reading through the syllabus, watching this video, which you've already made it through, congratulations, and responding to the 3 prompts that I've posted on the eCollege course shell for this first little introduction unit. So you go to eCollege, you click on Introduction, :1223, you'll see that there's the 3 pieces there. You'll access the discussion forums by clicking the link just below that says Introduction Discussion, and then you'll find the 3 forum topics that you need to talk about for this first class session. The first is just an introduction. The second is a little take on 3 communities that you're involved in or identify with, and the third is watching a short video and answering a couple of questions. So that's what you're responsible for on this first session. We'll pick up again on Monday, and that's when we'll launch into a sort of more regular schedule in terms of how the course will work. Great, so thank you for listening and sticking through this introductory video. Please don't hesitate to be in touch. My email is right there on the syllabus. I also didn't mention, I'm available on email regularly because of the hybrid nature of the course, but I'm also going to have office hours from 12 to 1 on Tuesday while we have our in-class session. So that's basically right before our classes. So if you're having any issues and you don't want to get in touch by email, feel free to come and see me in office hours, okay? I'm really looking forward to getting to know all of you, and I'll see you online on 12/23. Bye.